Countdown. Hello there. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. I am Willie Bragg, your host, and today I want to discuss how socialists can win the public relations battles that goes on in our country. Because we're the recipient of bad public relations. Some some on the left kind of brought it on themselves, and there are just malicious people on the right, and not even necessarily the right, even the wishy-washy center that that hates the word socialist, and they don't have either a full understanding or whatever preconceived notions that they have, that we just go and basically we just basically need to sit back and try to win these battles, win people over, and that's what it comes down to. And sometimes it's just easy to be contrarian with these folks and just want to be an asshole right back to them. I'll give you a personal example of things that I have encountered over the years. For example, when I was in the Socialist Party many years ago, every 4 years, trying to get our presidential candidate on a ballot, which was a chore. The first time I did it was in 1996 with Mary Calhoun, when she ran for president. We weren't able to get her on the ballot, but we tried. And the thing about it is that it was, we tried to do the right end. Even though that I failed to get her on the ballot, we tried very hard in North Carolina, and we learned from our mistakes. And in 2000, we were able to get David McReynolds on the ballot. We were able to get Walter Brown on the ballot in 2004. So, I mean, just that sort of thing that happens, at least in 2016, with regard to the Socialist Party USA, 2020 rather, they didn't have to try that hard because the Green Party was on the ballot in North Carolina, and Howie Hawkins, who is a member of the Socialist Party USA and a member of the Green Party, was the candidate. So, and I know I'm sounding very partisan about, my little niche in the corner of what it means to be a socialist. But whatever stripe of socialists, whatever faction you belong to, it's kind of hard to deal with the critics sometimes. You want to get combative. I was doing petitioning, and I'll run across a lot of right-wing hypocrites. Excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am. We're trying to get this presidential candidate on the ballot for the Socialist Party USA. I'm giving you that as an example. Would you like to, if you're a registered voter, would you like to sign to put a petition so our candidate can get on the ballot? And they'll be like, no, we don't. I ain't going to sign that petition because you socialists just want to come in and win elections and take our money and have a good time with it. There were times I was able to change their mind by, I hate to say it, but there were times I had to change their minds by saying, hey, if you don't do that, and you don't allow a socialist on the ballot, you know what? That vote may go to a Democrat. And some people will, well, that's different. And then they'll go and sign it. Whether that signature was bogus or not, we'll never, ever know. But as I said, when dealing with anti-socialist critics, you want to try to persuade them. Now, because they try that whole patriotic cheesiness on you as with a vicious edge. and they accuse you of being anti-American and all that. And I don't consider myself super patriotic, but I have to tell myself that there is a difference between being patriotic and being nationalistic. Nationalistic is an unhealthy form of patriotism. Patriotism, there's nothing wrong with loving your country. And there's not a damn country on this planet that hasn't done anything that's not come into being without a flawed foundation. Every country's had a flawed foundation, including the United States. So, but when dealing with anti-socialist critics, I've been thinking, maybe we need to sit there and try to persuade them to show them how American and pro-liberty socialism is. And when dealing with self-described libertarians, let them know that socialism is more libertarian in scope than they realize. The commonalities, that exist where they overlap, because socialists have historically been for free speech rights. Now, I know there's some SJWs out there. Some of them would call themselves socialists and what have you. And there is a campaign against hurt feelings, political correctness, SJWism, woke skull, regressive left, whatever you want to call it. That's never really been me at all. Maybe when I was younger, maybe when I was a little bit younger, even though I was always a free speech activist, I did have the little bit of the virtue signaling. That's kind of cringy or what have you. Yeah, I was one of those. Even though I didn't have purple hair at the time, I was one of those purple hair, loud kid, loud young types. I didn't have purple hair back then. Strangely enough, I would have purple hair later on when I was getting gray and I was dyeing my hair, and the black dye and the white hair combined made my hair look purple. And that was when I was in my 30s, and hey, I was like, well, at least I look edgy. Okay, all right, enough of that. But let them know, especially if they're libertarian, where there are some commonalities, like freedom of speech. I mean, that would be a given. LGBTQ equality. If there's probably one good thing about the libertarians, most of them have been pretty good on that question. And I've often joked that a libertarian is nothing more than a Republican who's cool with gay marriage. But anyway, free speech, LGBTQ equality. A lot of them are opposed to capital punishment or have been convinced to be against capital punishment. Like, for example, Ron Paul is now officially opposed to capital punishment. And even Senator Rand Paul kind of hints that he's not particularly fond of the death penalty, but he hasn't come out and fully said let's have it abolished. Not that I'm saying that Rand Paul or Ron Paul are just great people to follow, but I'm just saying, I'm giving you an example where there's overlap. The Second Amendment, well, I do think that there is an increasing number of lefties that are becoming Second Amendment absolutists in the age of the alt-right and crazy right-wingers who wants to attack minorities and attack leftists. I do think it is incumbent upon the left to learn how to defend themselves. Now, I don't own a firearm because I'm a pacifist, and I don't really plan to. But I've always more or less been a Second Amendment absolutist because while it is my least favorite amendment in the U.S. Constitution, it is in fact in the Constitution. And since it's sacrosanct in the Constitution, I do not want to give Bubba one more reason to vote Republican. So, and the thing about it is that the people who are proponents of the Second Amendment, they do so because they want to reduce crime. The best way to reduce crime is to reduce poverty. And that's where it needs to be focused. And I highly recommend people join the Socialist Rife Association. Lefties need to have an organization to counter the right wing politics of the NRA, and and because the NRA is not just a gun rights organization like they claim. The NRA is a right wing organization with ugly partisan right wing movement conservatism style agenda. Um, so I would actually, even if you love the Second Amendment, I do discourage people from joining the NRA and trying to find maybe a progressive alternative to the NRA. I highly recommend the Socialist Rifles Association. Um, right to privacy. Where libertarians and left are opposed to things like the USA Patriot Act. And I would also include things like racial and gender equality, things that needs to be resolved, and so I'm just giving you like a quick list of things where the libertarians and lefties or socialists, or whatever ideological flavor, can find some overlap. Now, with regard to I got to have this graphic to keep everything on the patriotic side of the equation. And real quick, this is Eugene Victor Debs on June the 6th, 1918, in Canton, Ohio, making his anti-war speech, which the United States basically put him in prison for several years because of what happened with the anti-war movement during World War One, which is why the ACLU was founded eventually. The American Civil Liberties Union would be founded as a reaction. And the ACLU's been a very patriotic organization that has done a lot to preserve our civil liberties and free speech rights. Now, in the last few years, they have become partisans, unfortunately, but they still overall do good work. But they have kind of lost their way in the last few years. I've gotten off the subject, but let me get back to the subject at hand. Conservatism, when you're dealing with people who are not libertarians but straight up conservatives, that drink the right wing Kool-Aid, or at least the center right Kool-Aid, shall I say. You let them know who are the true conservatives, because like for example, John Nichols basically said that when the Republican Party was founded in the 1850s, one man was really delighted over there in Germany. A German Jew by the name of Karl Marx was very delighted by the formation of the Republican Party, because the Republican Party were founded by mostly the abolitionist movement, not completely, but the abolitionist movement, and so there was admiration for this party, and I think he was sort of looking at the Republican Party at that time as a possible party where the working class could unite. It's a nice thought. Several decades later, you got President Theodore Roosevelt, not a socialist by any stretch of the imagination, but a progressive, and that encouraged conservation, and he broke up some of the monopolies that was going on at the time. These sort of things were championed by socialists. And Frank Zeidler, the former mayor of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, once said that if you think about it, in the more benign sense of the term, socialists are the true conservatives. We want to conserve the environment. We want to conserve, our resources. We want to, conserve jobs. We want to conserve, a standard of living where people can live comfortably and all that. So there is that. Now, we have a lot of socialism in our governance. So when people think that Bernie Sanders or AOC, AOC, Bernie Sanders, AOC, or the Squad. That this has never happened before. All the socialism that's come about. Well, let me just say that that's really pretty silly. And what I mean by that is that I mean, we've had socialism in this country put into practice without us even realizing it's socialism. Couple of examples, guaranteed public education would be an example. Fire departments would be an example. Public libraries, the post office, roads, highways, bridges, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. Now, here's the thing. People say, well, Social Security's in trouble. No, it isn't. The only people that want to make it in trouble are the Mitch McConnells of the world. I'm not trying to be partisan, but that's how it is. The right wing wants to corporatize Social Security, and that was a disaster when it was tried in Chile. Medicare is a good system that we have. We just need to expand it over the whole population. It's more efficient than the private system, the private insurance, and it just needs to be expanded over the population. Medicaid, the problem with Medicaid, only problem is it's too means tested center. So Medicare and Medicaid need just to be expanded to the whole population. Boom, you got health care for all. Now I'm going to put an asterisk on police and military, because with the police and the military, if the police are doing what they're supposed to do, and that is to keep the peace and to stop actual bad people from committing crimes, I'm down with that. I'm 100% cool with that. Well, I would say with regard to law enforcement, there needs to be major reform. And the kind of reform that's going to put a stop to things like racial profiling and police brutality. That's the kind of crap that needs to be opposed when it comes to law enforcement. Military, again, another asterisk on that. With regard to the military, do we need a military to defend ourselves? Sure. Do we need a military that's bigger than the 10 closest allies combined, and just keep building and spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year, actually trillions a year in our military, and spending tens of trillions across the ocean in regime change wars? Absolutely not. So, have a military. Get rid of our nuclear weapons program. Get rid of our chemical weapons. Get rid of our biological weapons. Close down the 900 bases that we have worldwide. Cut the military down to 50%. And mind our own damn business. That's what we can do, and that's the way to have a military. Otherwise, what's going on is unacceptable, and humbling the military-industrial complex for damn sure. That would be another thing right there. Public universities. You think about the public universities. I'm from North Carolina. UNC Chapel Hill, believe it was in 1789. UNC Chapel Hill became the first public university in the United States of America. And sometimes when I drive to Chapel Hill, once in a blue moon, about maybe about 6-7 times a year, it's about an hour drive from where I live. When I'm over there, I think about that when I'm driving by the campus, whether I'm on Franklin Street or wherever I'm at. I'm driving, by the campus, and I'm like thinking, this was the very first public university in the United States. I mean, so in a lot of ways, the founding fathers of this country and the people that helped made America in its founding, in spite of its flaws that we had over the years, there were pockets of progress here and there. And that's basically what it comes down to. So the thing about it is the safety net. Getting back to, and that's what I want to talk about with the safety net. You will hear conservatives and libertarians to tell you how unconstitutional it is to have a safety net, how unconstitutional it is to have this program here for the poor or that program for the people, or what have you. And I will argue that things like Medicare for All, for example, and I said this in my video yesterday, that the 8th Amendment and the 13th Amendment, particularly if you read it, the language will tell you that we should have a healthcare system, because the 8th Amendment forbids cruel and unusual punishment. Cruel and unusual punishment is letting people die or go bankrupt because they can't afford healthcare. Excessive fines, the paying for high premiums and expensive medications, things like that. That's a part of cruel and unusual punishment. The 13th Amendment forbids involuntary servitude. It forbids slavery, and it gives Congress the authority to go and put up legislation to make sure that slavery or involuntary servitude doesn't transpire. So these are some examples where you can beat the right, not just the conservative right, not just the libertarian right, or the movement conservatives, or the neocons, or the Christian right, or what have you, but even the murky corporate liberal center, the corporate Democrats, basically, who will argue. They may not argue in terms of the constitutionality, because they're a little more. They're not going to put up the fake show that the right wing put up with. I'm patriotic. I follow the Constitution. Well, you let them know that you do too, and show them where anytime they'll tell you whatever left wing proposal or idea that can make our society better, they'll try to knock it down by saying that it's unconstitutional. You can counter it and show them where it is where it is consistent in line with the U.S. Constitution. So, okay, so this is basically almost part 2 of what I talked about yesterday. So in a way, it's my way of expanding what I've been trying to say all along, and I just hope that we can show to the American people that socialism is in our best interest, and corporate America are the least patriotic people. They don't give a damn about our workers. If they think that if they could, they would go and zap away our pay by relocating to a place with very few unions, or relocating to a place to another country through outsourcing. So these are areas where you need to show to the people where it is very patriotic to go and support, socialist measures for our society to make America truly great again. Not the cheesy Donald Trump make America great again. Donald Trump's ideas will not make America great again. Bernie Sanders in a very awesome day will make America great again. Not necessarily the Bernie Sanders that bend the knee toward the Democrats lately, but the classic Bernie Sanders. But anyway, that's basically my rant for today. And if you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, well, comment anyway. We will have a conversation. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As the First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Also, feel free to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, help make this channel grow. And I am Willie Bragg, and I want to give a shout out to Hot Retarded Chicks. Great seeing you once again. And let me say hi back to you. And I shall part ways and right now, and because I got to get plenty of sleep, because one hell of a night last night. Not in a good way at all. But I'm over it. I promise you, I am over it. So, until next time. And as I said, I wish each and every one of you a great day, and we will chat soon. Take care. Bye bye.